Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a deeply personal and, honestly, universally frustrating experience. Look, we all know someone, and hey, maybe it's even you, who constantly talks about having these massive dreams. We're talking about starting a business, totally changing their life's trajectory, or finally hitting that major career milestone. And yet, months, or incredibly, even years roll by, and they are sitting exactly where they started. The ambition is absolutely there, but the actual progress? Zero. So today, we're going to unpack exactly why that happens.
I really want you to think about this for a second. Why do huge dreams fail? Why do so many incredibly capable people stay permanently parked at the starting line? Well, usually we point the finger at a lack of time, not enough money, or just plain old bad luck. But psychology actually suggests there is something way more insidious going on. The truth is, human behavior is largely driven by hidden internal patterns and mental traps that most of us just completely overlook. So let's dive into this and expose the real culprit.
Here is the big twist. Your mind secretly becomes your own biggest obstacle. Yeah, your brain isn't actually trying to help you succeed. It is hardwired for survival, for safety, and for comfort. It is absolutely not wired for reaching your highest potential. So while you consciously want growth and success, your brain is actively busy feeding you lies just to keep you comfortable and exactly where you are. Today, we're going to uncover 7 very specific lies your brain tells you, grouped into 3 fascinating themes, so you can finally start seeing through the excuses it feeds you every single day. Let's kick things off with theme 1, illusions of time and action. This is basically where your brain tricks you into a state of false productivity and complacency. This entire deception boils down to 3 specific illusions: the illusion of unlimited time, chasing immediate rewards, and that highly dangerous belief that thinking about something is the exact same thing as actually doing it. Let's break these down. The first trap is the illusion of unlimited time. This is a silent but deadly psychological trap. Your brain just casually whispers, hey, you have plenty of time to start later. Because tomorrow, or next week, always feels completely wide open, your brain literally removes any sense of urgency. Think about that novel you've been meaning to write, or that gym membership that's just gathering dust. When you assume you can just start next Monday, you postpone action without feeling even a drop of panic because your mind is treating time like it's this infinite resource. To fix this, you really have to recognize that progress happens way before the results show up, and every single day you put it off just makes building that initial foundation exponentially harder. Next up is the dopamine trap of right now. Your brain is basically hardwired to believe that immediate rewards are vastly superior to future ones. I mean, this perfectly explains why it is so incredibly hard to just put down your phone, right? Your primitive brain strongly prefers a reward it can get this very second, like just one more scroll or one more video, over the delayed gratification of long-term success. Psychologically speaking, the payoff for going to sleep early or grinding out work on a weekend won't arrive until tomorrow, or maybe even next year. That makes immediate pleasures nearly impossible to resist. The people who build incredible success from scratch, they've essentially trained themselves to tolerate that short-term discomfort for future freedom, a freedom that their primitive brain currently thinks is just way too far away to care about. And that brings us to the final illusion in this first theme, the belief that just thinking about a goal is the same as accomplishing it. Your brain absolutely loves to trick you into feeling highly productive when, in reality, you're just researching, planning, or daydreaming about your success. It feels incredibly active inside your head, but psychology shows us that as long as a goal stays purely in your mind, it is completely disconnected from real behavior. Dreams need external movement, guys. They require at least one physical action every single day to become real. Endlessly looping internal repetition just doesn't cut it. All right, moving right along to theme 2, the safety of discomfort. Let's look at how your brain actively prefers predictable misery over an unknown opportunity. In this section, we're unpacking the next set of mental traps, the mere exposure effect, identity-attached failure, and our dependency on emotion. These really highlight how the mind stubbornly clings to what's familiar. First up in this category is the mere exposure effect. This is where your brain tries to convince you that familiar discomfort is somehow safer than an uncertain opportunity. The human mind naturally gravitates toward what is predictable, because predictability creates a really powerful sense of psychological safety. This is exactly why your brain will trick you into staying in a dead-end job or a completely stagnant routine. The familiar pain of a terrible job feels emotionally safer to your survival-wired brain than the terrifying, unpredictable uncertainty of stepping out and finding something new. And the crucial takeaway here is this:
Your brain would rather you be unhappily safe than happily at risk. I really want you to let that sink in. Your brain, frankly, does not care if you are fulfilled, joyful, or actualized. It literally only cares that you are alive and safe from unknown threats. If being totally miserable means you survive the day, your brain chalks that up as a massive win.
Next is the incredibly toxic lie that your mistakes define who you are. We call this identity-attached failure. So many people turn every single mistake into hard evidence of their own inadequacy. Instead of logically saying, hey, I made a mistake, which isolates the behavior, your brain twists it into, I am a mistake. It attaches the failure straight to your identity. And what's really terrifying about this is that once that lie takes root, your brain will actively reject positive information, like a genuine compliment from a friend, simply because it conflicts with a negative self-image it just built. Then, we have the dependency on emotion. This is the lie that you have to feel motivated to start. People wait around for this massive wave of inspiration or the perfect mood to strike before they do anything. But emotions, they are incredibly unreliable. They change by the day or even by the hour. Your brain tells you that you should feel inspired to work on your dreams, but the stark reality? Real growth is often repetitive, boring, and highly emotionally uncomfortable. Truly successful minds don't wait for motivation. They train themselves to act in neutral moods, fully knowing that excitement is a luxury that might just never show up.
Which brings us to our final section. Theme 3, the blame game. When things inevitably go south, your brain deploys its ultimate defense mechanism. This is the classic lie that it's always someone else's fault. It is responsibility avoidance in its purest form. Just to protect your ego, your brain actively hunts for an external target. It's bad luck, it's a terrible boss, it's the economy, it's a difficult partner. Sure, successfully shifting the blame protects you from having to confront uncomfortable truths about your own shortcomings in that exact moment, but the long-term cost is devastating. It completely prevents you from ever developing the better judgment that only comes from actually learning from your failures.
So what's the antidote to this final trap? Absolute ownership. Adulthood, and honestly, true success only really begins when you stop letting your brain make these incredibly convenient excuses. You have to step up and take complete, absolute responsibility for your outcomes. Because here is the truly empowering part. When you own the failure, you absolutely own the power to change the result next time around.
So, to summarize the core takeaway of this explainer, your brain is wired for survival. It is not wired for your highest potential. It just wants you safe, predictable, and comfortable. But once you start recognizing these 7 small, everyday psychological lies, you can finally stop being a victim to your own mental patterns. You start seeing your own human nature in a way most people, frankly, never will. And that is exactly what allows you to push past the comfort zone and into actual, tangible growth. So I want to leave you with one final thought. Now that you know its tricks, the illusions of time, the dopamine traps, the intense fear of uncertainty, and the constant blame game, who is really in control here? Is it your survival-driven brain, or is it you? If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden psychology behind our everyday human behavior, make sure you hit subscribe. Because once you understand the internal patterns that keep people stuck, you finally begin to understand what actually helps people grow. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you in the next one.